Okay, so the real reason most live players fail is because they don't understand that poker is connected on both a macro and micro level. And today I'm going to share with you a video from our course, The Cash Game Fix, that introduces what we call the Rossi model. If you want to be successful in live poker, you need to understand this model. So take it away, Blake. Our first model is known as the Rossi model. Rossi stands for resources, objectives, strategy, implementation. And everything we're going to learn is going to fit into this model. It's the approach that truly makes School of Cards so different. Okay, so this model moves from left to right, but to give you a quick overview, let's say you were in a specific hand where you bluff river and lose a 200 big blind stack. That action was an implementation of a strategy that was created from specific objectives that were defined using a certain level of resources. This is how we judge actions at the poker table. After going through this course, you might have two students get involved in the same exact hand. And for one student, it was perfect and it was the correct thing to do. And for another, it was a big mistake. This is the reason why commenting on a hand or an action without context is difficult. There are very obvious correct and incorrect decisions in poker, but there are also so many shades of gray. You need to understand the full context in order to be able to truly understand a single action at the table. Let's explore each part of the model when it comes to poker. We essentially have three resources: finances, time, and cognition. Finances refers to your bankroll, risk tolerance, and how much you're willing to dedicate to the game. A player who has a 10K bankroll and is playing 1-2 should have a completely different approach than a player with $600 to their name. Ideally, we would all be playing an optimal style of poker, but that's not really, it's not reality. And players will bust rolls and make the same mistakes over and over again because they don't acknowledge their financial resources. Our second resource is time. The amount of time you have to dedicate towards your game and the amount of work you're going to put into your game and dedicate towards getting better is going to help dictate your approach and strategy. Third is cognition. This is your ability to process the information in front of you and make the correct decisions. You could have a healthy bankroll and have put in a lot of work in your game, but if you can't think at a certain level, you're going to need to adjust your objectives, strategy, and implementation. Next is our objectives. What do we actually want to accomplish? And are those achievements actually possible? A lot of players have misconceptions about what is possible. They say they want to make a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time, and it's literally not possible. No strategy or implementation is going to get you there. Only pure timing and luck. It is critical we define our objectives because they are going to dictate the strategy we use. If you want to hit a certain hourly rate at a certain level, you're going to need to play a certain style of poker. For example, we aren't going to get to 15 big blinds an hour in a live game playing like a complete nit. Next, we have strategy. Strategy is how we are going to approach the game, what hands we are going to be opening with, how we are going to handle certain players, what adjustments we are going to be making. Everything that essentially goes into playing poker at a higher level. Most players don't have an actual defined strategy. They just sit down and play and sort of figure it out. Part of the reason you are probably taking this class is because you don't know what to do, when to do it, and why you're actually doing it. This is 100% fine and what we are here for. You just need to understand right now up front that our resources and objectives are going to dictate your strategy. Finally, we have implementation. Implementation's essentially the execution of the strategy you have created. It's when you pull that trigger. You could have a wealth of resources, solid objectives, and a powerful and effective strategy. But if you can't actually take the right action at the right time, we have a problem. Problems with implementation are very common in players who study the game a lot. For example, I have worked with players that if you give them enough time, they can work out the right answer, but their in-game thought process doesn't actually reflect that because they aren't thinking at that level at the actual poker table. There are a lot of factors that can cause problems with implementations, and we will be going over those throughout this course. I just want you to understand right now that having a solid off-table strategy is not enough. You need to be able to actually implement it at the table. The Rossi model will be utilized throughout this course, and it's something you are definitely going to get very used to using. Next, I'm going to go over the IDEO model, which will really help explain the game of poker.